Hi everyone, this is Dragon GJY. Welcome to another module review update. I'm sorry that I missed the last patch, which will be included in this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. We start out with Hoshiguma Alter X, detailed breakdown in her operator hindsight earlier. To recap, this is a damage and damage instance increase module. The improvement to skill 2 is 16% to 29%, and skill 3 by 22% to 27% depending on tenacity level. It doubles the hit count for most of her damage. Skill 2 active attacks will do 6 hits and 4 or 8 hits per attack with skill 3, making her more effective against damage instance gimmicks. Max tenacity now starts at 50% HP, so that's better coverage as well. But again, the bonus leans heavily towards her low HP state, so when tenacity cannot be reliably triggered, the damage will be limited. As a little nitpick, the skill 2 shield spin doesn't get the damage count double, so overall considering the quality of Hoshiguma's kit, level 1 essential, level 3 recommended. Next we have Pramanix Alter Y, also more details in her operator hindsight. Damage improvement varies greatly with targets in range from 11% at 1 target to 24% at 5 targets. Snow damage increase helps with her off-skill damage and her skill 2's distant damage that works with the snow on deploy as well. Module Y base is pretty questionable, but at least with her kit, she's good at keeping enemies in her range. For cons, obviously skill 2 as her main skill doesn't have the range extension to better benefit from the base, and if she were to have module X, that could better play with the cold reflection in her kit and just overall protects her when she's in skill, which is like forever if you use skill 2. Overall a moderate module, but the priority is there because she's a very good operator that you may use daily. Next we have Astgenne Alter X. We didn't talk about this character much, and to be fair, she's a very simple operator, and pretty much a Suzerain that deals slightly more damage. That aside, what this module offers does improve her quite a lot, mostly the slow coverage part. Longer slow per attack and more attack speed, that combined increases her slow coverage off skill from 50% to 78%, and she can now achieve 2 target 100% slow coverage with skill 3. That also comes with a 25.5% skill 3 damage increase from 36,000 to 45,000. I think the problem is just not quite on her. Yes, she has great slow coverage, but that's for 1 or 2 targets when we have AoE movement speed reductions that are as good as slow, and her debuff capability is definitely not on par with Suzerain. Module's good for the operator too, but doesn't change her place in the meta. For the only second module in this batch, we have Vina Victoria Y, and this one is an original, in the sense that it's the first module whose established branch base effect has been changed so that it can better fit the operator's kit. So for other operators, Arts Fighter Y is 10% Arts Fragile on enemies blocked by themselves, but for Vina, our true damage Arts Fighter, it's the generic Fragile instead, and added Summon Block to also be eligible for that effect. We were pessimistic about this topic when Art Fighter module came out, but turns out they aren't completely out of their minds. Instead, this module introduced 2 damage scales that greatly boosts her damage, increasing skill 3 damage by 29.36%, higher than the 21.3% of module X. While module X provides physical damage reduction, this module improves survival by prolonging the Frighten on key enemies to up to 12 seconds. And with that new damage scale on Frighten targets, she has potential combos with other Frighten sources like Dagger Brescia. Of course, this module is less effective when you can't block enemies for whatever reasons, or when they're immune to Frighten, and Frighten has definitely saw more brick walls than when it first debuted. In comparison, Module X has a higher physical damage reduction and will be better when enemies are not blocked, at least not by her. And Module Y generally has higher and easier to trigger damage boost. You no longer need that 8 pals around you for full damage, and now has a Frighten damage boost to work with other sources. Overall, considering that Module Y's damage offer is much easier to achieve, highly tailored for Vina, I think Module Y would be the general better choice. For the latest patch, we have Mon3tr X. This is a module to improve her healing, especially for targets down the heal train. So before the module, let's say we have 3 targets after a heal jumps off from her reconstruct, they will receive 100%, 75%, and then 56.25% healing from the jump decay. However, with Module X level 3, that scale becomes 100%, and 100% again because you now have 2 heal jumps with no decay from the Reconstruct, and the final jump gets the now reduced heal reduction at 85%, combined with the higher attack provided by Reconstruct. These 3 targets will take 20.4%, 60.5%, and 82.9% more healing than before. It is so much higher that the last target in the heal chain now heals more than the first target before the module. So yeah, a massive HPS boost for Mon3tr, with her Reconstruct providing a slightly higher attack buff that could go to other units. But you know the thing with Mon3tr, there are still other important offers from her kit. Obviously, this module doesn't change her talent 2, so no changes to the attack speed buff from skill 2, and the 10% increase to attack buff provided by the Reconstruct would generally translate to only around 2% to 8% damage increase to other damage dealers, depending on their inherent attack buffs. This is comparing without module, of course. And for her damage offer, the module only brings a 12.2% increase to it. I mean, we literally just finished talking about Vina, so by the same standard, I say it's just so-so. Still a healing focused module, so if you don't really use her outside of the skill 2 attack speed buff and skill 3 crunching, very optional, considering that her healing is definitely decent to start with. Next, we have Nasti X. Quick recap from the latest Operator Hindsight, a pure function update module. It improves the device sustain when you do back-to-back 2 device uses, especially with skill 2. It speeds up the startup of Artificer and reducing the overall DP cost, with the first device always costing 0 DP regardless of skill starting from level 2. You can establish the skill 3 high ground 3 seconds earlier with module, and it fully builds up 4 seconds earlier, which honestly wouldn't matter at all. The real deal is in level 3. It provides more options when you need to stack devices on the same target, and makes her much less reliant on terrain and tile availability. Unfortunately, this module has nothing to do with offensive stuffs, as expected, and it just feels like they ripped off part of what should have been in her base kit and gated behind an expensive module level 3. For what the module costs versus what it offers, it's borderline a big scam in my opinion. Level 1 essential for base use. For the best experience, you will need level 3. And finally, we have Ray Y. This module is very simple, damage, and more damage. It packs so much more offensive power than Module X. Skill 3 DPH is at 8,000 compared to the 6,500-ish of Module X. And this is just DPH, the defense breakpoint measure without the post-defense physical damage scale in Talent 1. Bring that in, and Skill 3 will do up to 9,214 damage per hit, with the total damage increased by 26.77% compared to the 10% of Module X. The 7 attack speed reduces her base attack interval from 1.6 seconds to 1.5 seconds, which isn't big, but it does remove that brief binding down time in skill 3 between the 8th and the 9th shot, as mentioned in the Operator Hindsight for Ray. However, as a trade-off, you lose the sand-based downtime reduction offered by Module X. So if she defeats an enemy in skill 3, the skill would come back 10 seconds earlier than the sand-based, which may throw you off. Same goes for using skill 2. Module X was a game changer for skill 2, which involves back and forth deploy and retreat of the sand-beast, as well as benefiting more from the double reload in Module X base. Therefore, in comparison, it's a pretty tough decision. Module X for the better skill 2 experience, align the skill 3 and sand-beast cycle, but Module Y for the much higher damage. I think nowadays, as the sniper class basically settles into the Vizadel, Narantuya, Lamion triangle, to really make Ray regain some impact, it's still more up to her damage in one burst. So in the end, I say 40-60 between X and Y, but if you barely use her anymore or already had her Module X, I think it wouldn't be very necessary to get the new one for her. Well, that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. Catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.